What is going on, guys? And God, I don't even know how I'm going to do this video or the order I'm going to do this in because, with everything that just went on, everything just happened. This morning, I'm sitting at work and all of a sudden somebody I know texts me like, man, I can't believe what just happened. I'm like, what? And they announced that Yoenis says the Tigers had traded Rick Porcello to the Boston Red Sox for Yoenis Cespedes. I'm like, I knew it. I knew it. I came on here last week on Baseball Banter and talked about with my buddy Mike that the Tigers should do this trade Yoenis for Porcello. And also on Baseball Central, the other channel I do, I made a video on there. Should the Tigers, trade Porcello for Yoenis Cespedes? And a lot of people were kind of against it because, like, well, his OBP's not that good. He strikes out a lot. Porcello's coming off a year where he had best, career best in ERA and, second best WHIP, and he's tied in the MLB for shutouts. But it was like, I thought they should do it. And the fact that it actually got done, it doesn't surprise me, but I'm really happy it did get done. So let's go in and break this down a little bit. Basically, for everyone that was saying Porcello was more valuable than Yoenis Cespedes, you're just wrong. If you look at their WAR, each one of those guys were a 3-win player. They're both going to be making nearly the identical amount in arbitration. They both had 1 year left. Now, Porcello is younger, so which makes him a little bit more valuable, I suppose. But the Tigers ended up offsetting that cost, the valuability, by getting a couple of pitchers with him. They got Gabe Speier and Alex Wilson. And Alex Wilson, Dave Dombrowski just watched his press conference. As you can see, I got MLB Network on in the background. I just watched his presser. He actually thinks that Alex Wilson, who is a right-handed pitcher, will be able to compete for a spot in the bullpen this year. And Gabe Speier is only 19 years old, so he's still got a long ways off before he's going to affect anything. A little bit about Wilson. Wilson is only 26. He was a rookie last year. Very minimal time so far in the big leagues. Had some success. I don't know too much about him, but just a quick look at the peripherals, WHIP, strikeouts per 9, and walks, because I value that a lot. Strikeouts per 9 and strikeout to walk ratio is a big thing for me. If you have a really low strikeout to walk ratio and you're not striking out many guys and you're giving up a lot of hits, that's just not good. I don't care about ERA that much. I want to see, are they getting guys out? Are they pounding the zone? Are they consistent strike throwers? And Wilson has had trouble throwing strikes. His walks per 9, he's had years in the minors where it's been as high as 4. He's about his career in the minors, he's about a 3.3 walks per 9. The strikeout rate in the minors was at an 8.2, but if you look at his strikeout percentage, it's actually fallen by about every single year in the minor leagues. It's actually gotten lower. It's all the way up from like 24% all the way down to 17% as recent as last year. So it's kind of a troubling sign. But nonetheless, you get a guy, AAA bullpen depth, so be it. And Gabe Speier, who knows what you got in that guy. But the real big fish in all this, you ended up netting that outfield bat. And I knew it. I absolutely knew it. Dave Dombrowski was not comfortable going into this season. And how could he be? With Anthony Gose, Rajah Davis, and JD Martinez as your everyday outfielders out there. Your outfield depth was terrible. Mind you don't have Don Kelly anymore. You don't have Andy Dirks anymore, so you don't have any bench depth, outfield depth, So it wasn't going to work out because Rajah Davis, he can't hit right-handed pitching to save his life. And Anthony Gose, yes, he's a guy, he's a wizard defensively, has a rocket of an arm, but he's struggled to hit 235 in the big leagues. He's been inconsistent in his splits between 3 seasons. And he's only a career 258 hitter in the minor league. So he's had troubling contact rates. He got not much power. Him and Davis were designed to be platoon together. Now, I like Anthony Gose, don't get me wrong. This is the one thing I wanted to touch on. So now you bring in Yoenis Cespedes, a guy that's going to hit 6th. I think he can hit 5th, 6th. It all depends on what Brad Ausmus wants to do. It all depends on how, JD Martinez comes back this year. Is he going to replicate anything he did last year? Is he going to be close to that? Hopefully he is, because he was really nice behind Victor last year. But you'd have to look at the lineup, and you'd have to think it'd be Kinsler / Rajah Davis most days leading off. Maybe Jose Iglesias at second. Probably, second in the lineup. Probably not. He's probably going to be lower in the lineup. It all depends, But, and then you'd figure the middle of the order would be Cabrera, Vmart, JD, Cespedes. And that was a big thing because a lot of people weren't thinking really about losing Torrey Hunter. Now, Torrey Hunter, a guy who really slumped off defensively this year. I mean, he was awful in right field last year, but he really slumped off defensively. He still posted a pretty good defensive season, or not defensive season, but offensive season. I mean, he hit 283. The on base was about 319. The slugging was the 430-ish. I don't have his stats right up in front of me. I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head. 17 homers, 87 RBIs. Now you slot Cespedes in there, and you're getting a guy that hit 20-plus home runs every single year while hitting at O.Co Coliseum, a park where the ball does not fly at all, especially at night. I mean, it's not an easy park to play in, especially with that fall ground. So he's coming here to Detroit. He's going to be in a really good lineup, hitting, behind Victor Martinez or behind JD Martinez. Is going to be a really good lineup. And what I really like about this is outfield defense. People don't stress enough the value of defense when it comes to this team. Last year when they traded Prince Fielder and they got Ian Kinsler, and you're supposed to have Kinsler and Iglesias and Castellanos moving to third and Cabrera moving to first, you're supposed to have defensive upgrades everywhere. But it just did not come to fruition. Now, their errors were down a little bit as a squad, but they still committed their fair share of errors. And you're looking at this current outfield and how bad it was. Some of the Tigers' outfield has really lacked for a really long time is ability to throw base runners out. I mean, you look at the Royals' outfield, it's absolutely outstanding with those guys with their throwing arms. And they saved a lot of runs, being able to, get a bunch of outfield assists. And Torrey Hunter had quite a few outfield assists his first year as a Tiger, but not so much lately. Now you got Anthony Gose in center, who's, most days, whatever, when he plays. And then Yoenis Cespedes in left. Those two guys alone, because Cespedes had 11 defensive runs saved last year. And I think he was top 3 in the American League for outfield assists. So now you got Gose and Cespedes. Two guys that have cannons of an arm out in the outfield, and two guys who are already two really good outfielders that instantaneously improves your outfield defense, and it adds an element to your team that you've been lacking for years and years and years, good outfield throwing arms. And if you don't think that makes a big difference, go ask the Kansas City Royals how many runs Alex Gordon has saved them, or Lorenzo Cain has saved them, or even when Jeff Francoeur was throwing guys out, how many runs that saved them. It's a crucial piece that a lot of people overlook. So now you're replacing Torrey Hunter. You're getting a guy that's comparable offensively, even though he had more RBIs. But RBIs, take that with a grain of salt. More home runs. He's definitely a better power hitter. He's going to have a nice park to hit to the gaps too. I mean, I know he strikes out. I know the OBP isn't that great, but look at what he does. I know if you look at his career OPS, it's under 800, and his OBP is not that good. But what he does is he's a lineup changer. There is something about having Yoenis Cespedes in that lineup that changes it. You don't believe me? Go ask the Oakland A's. Look how they collapse. And I mean, it's not just like, well, that's one thing to help them collapse. I'm not kidding you. Go look at the Oakland A's. I remember watching MLB tonight. They're showing statistics of the A's when Yoenis Cespedes played and when he didn't play, because Cespedes does have injury risk to him. That's one of his downfalls. And they were under 500 when Cespedes didn't play. And they're like 40 games over 500 when he did. He's a guy that, the numbers don't really live up with the hype. You really have his name that he's supposed to be, but he just has this aura around him that I don't know what it is. He just changes lineups. And what he's going to bring defensively, his outfield arm, he's going to slot nice in the middle of the order. He's going to replace Torrey Hunter greatly. It's an outstanding move. I really like it. And, the Red Sox, they finally got some starting pitching that they needed. And, the Tigers end up scoring big because they get 3 for 1 for this. Where is the bad to this? So, obviously, I really like the Yoenis Cespedes move. So, after that, there was rumblings that the Tigers had a deal going on with the Reds, and I'm thinking, oh hell yeah, it's gonna be Matt Latos or maybe Mike Leake. I was really hoping Mike Leake, because I didn't think Tigers had a shot in hell to get Matt Latos, and especially once it was announced that Matt Latos was close to going to the Marlins, which doesn't make sense, by the way. I mean, the Marlins kind of perplexing. They trade 4 guys for D. Gordon because Dan Herron's probably going to retire, yet they go out and get Matt Latos as well. A guy that, that is going to be a free agent at the end of the year. So, they're trying to win right now. And the prospects they gave up for D. Gordon was just asinine. The Dodgers raped him on that one. But nonetheless, it's about the Tigers here. I hope it's Matt Latos or maybe Mike Leake. But it's Alfredo Simone. What? I thought Dombrowski, I was like, I'm all on Dombrowski's bandwagon. I'm like, awesome. Dave's back. Dave is, he's getting people. He's fleecing teams. He's back to the old sly Dave Dombrowski way when he's getting, Doug Fister, for practically nothing. But no, he trades Eugenio Suarez, who, by the way, Tiger fans were telling me last year that they're going to trade Jose Iglesias because Suarez had 2 home runs in his first 5 games, because Tiger fans didn't know what it meant to have offense at the shortstop position last year for the first freaking 3 months of the season, because they went through, so many, Alex Gonzalez and Andrew Romine, and then Eugenio Suarez was there, and I mean, who wasn't there? Nonetheless, they trade Suarez and Jonathan Crawford for Alfredo Simon. I'm sorry. That trade is god-awful. It really is. Simon had a good year in the first half last year, but he was not worth your best pitching prospect arm, mind you, and Eugenio Suarez. Now, don't get me wrong, Suarez is nothing special. I don't think Suarez is nothing but a bench role player. I don't think he's ever going to evolve into what it is. I mean, he showed a little glimpse of pop, but he also showed that this kid will strike out a lot. He doesn't have a lot of patience. He's susceptible to making really stupid errors at shortstop. I mean, Suarez, he has some range. He has a bit of a glove, but, I mean, he made some really dumb errors this year on routine balls that should have been made. Like I said, he showed he doesn't have much plate discipline. He showed he can hit the ball at the yard once in every while. So, I mean, I don't think he's like this amazing player. But when you give up him and Jonathan Crawford for Alfredo Simon, a guy, this is what pisses me off. The first half of last year, he was 12-3 with a 2.70 ERA and 116 innings pitched. Now, you look at his second half ERA, that was 18 games. His second half in 14 games, he had a 4.52 ERA and 79 2/3 innings. He's been terrible for almost half a season's worth of starts. Not to mention, this guy was a reliever for most of his career up until a couple years back. You're talking about a guy that, he has a really good changeup. That's why he was, he had that mild success. But as soon as his changeup wasn't effective, because this is a guy that he only strikes out under 6 guys per 9 innings, and he walks quite a bit. I mean, his strikeout to walk ratio is under 3. It's not that great. Let me actually get the exact stats here for you. His strikeout to walk ratio is about 2.27, and he's only striking out 5.8 hitters per 9, and his strikeout and his walks per 9 is at 2.6, which isn't too bad, but that was the lowest it's been in about 3 years. It's mainly been at 3 and higher. So, I mean, you're talking about a guy who doesn't strike out a lot of guys, walks a good amount of guys. I mean, it's a good amount per 9 innings. Had a fluke, a flash of brilliance earlier in the season, was already regressing, I should say, in the second half of last year, and you deal your best arm for him that you had in the minors. Now, mind you, take that with a grain of salt. The Tigers minor leagues isn't that strong. I mean, come on now. I mean, you see what they got left. I mean, this past year they traded Jake Thompson, Corey Knievel, Jonathan Crawford, now Eugenio Suarez. So that farm system is bare. Their farm system looks like my wallet right now. I mean, you could just take it, dump it out, and there's going to be nothing in it. I mean, there's nothing there. So, I mean, you trade all of that for a guy that was already regressing in the second half of last season. I was really, really hoping it was going to be Mike Leake, not Alfredo Simon, because he is not good. All the signs are there that he's going to regress. I don't care if he was an all-star. I don't care about the ERA. The ERA is heavily held down by that outstanding first half he had. Because I had Alfredo Simon on my fantasy team this year. So I watched him close. I'm a fantasy nerd. I watched him close. And as soon as he wasn't throwing that changeup as effectively as he was before, like I say, he doesn't strike out a lot of guys. It was poof. So luckily, Simon is only hopefully a 1-year replacement. This is where the addition of Shane Green really makes a huge difference, because like I said, I already made that video about Shane Green, how much I like him, how I think he has 3 upside. I think he's going to be I think he could outdo what Porcello did. Maybe not from a complete game standpoint, or he's not going to touch as many innings, but I think from a quality standpoint of innings, I think he could do what Porcello did. But Simon, you are just begging for a guy that had 1 really good half and was already regressing. You're just begging for this guy to come in your rotation and blow up, because he has all the makings of that, especially a guy who was once a reliever. Like I said, only 1 decent first half this past year as a starter. I did not like that trade at all. I thought the Tigers got the worst end of that deal. The Reds ended up trading a guy that only had 1 year team control left and got Suarez and Crawford. Suarez still has 5 years left. Crawford's clock hasn't even started. So I thought they did a great job of getting that from the Tigers. And I was hoping it was Mike Leake, like I said, but I wasn't pleased about the Alfredo Simone trade whatsoever. I thought Dombrowski did a great job getting Cespedes. I thought it was a great addition to the outfield. I mean, you had Shane Green already there to replace Porcello, and then you ended up getting Simone to try to round out the rest of your rotation. I don't know. I just don't like it. Not one bit. Now, the beauty in Simone that I will say for this is if he doesn't strike out many guys, the ball's put in play. Thank God. And we gotta hope now because, like I said, the Tigers have no depth. If Iglesias gets hurt this year, the Tigers are potentially massively fucked. Because you still got Hernan Perez and Danny Worth. Actually, I don't know if Danny Worth's even on the roster in the 40-man anymore. I'd have to check that. But you still got Hernan Perez nonetheless. Suarez would have been a nice option to have there. Don't get me wrong. Oh, you got Andrew Romine too still, so whatever. But, Suarez still would have been a nice option, to have for a backup shortstop / backup second baseman. So, now you got to hope that Iglesias stays healthy. But it does benefit that you got Iglesias and Kinsler up the middle this year to help Simone out some. But I just didn't like it. I thought you gave up way too much for a guy that has regression written all over him. And it just is what it is. I thought Dombrowski did a little bit better on that one. So, what do I know? Love the Cespedes move. The Simone move is blah. I guess we'll see how it works. Hopefully he can have that flash in the pan like he did this past year, for 18 games, but don't count on it. So, anyways, guys, that's all I got for you on this one. Make sure you check out Baseball Central. Check out our YouTube page. Check out our website. I got to go bang out some articles for that tonight. Myself and Mike Hewitt will be back on here to do baseball banter tonight to talk about all the 15 million moves that the Dodgers made last night and some other bigger moves that happened in baseball, such as, John Lester signing and whatnot, and the Yankees interested in Irvin Santana. So all that's coming tonight. So quick recap. Cespedes, great. Don't let anyone tell you that Rick Porcello was worth more than what we got because of one good year last year. I'm sorry. He wasn't. They're both 3-win players, 3 WAR players. They're both making you the same. And the Tigers got a 3-for-1 out of Porcello. Don't let anyone tell you this is a bad move because it's not. It's a good move. You upgrade everywhere. Middle of the order, outfield defense. The Simone move, if you think it sucks, I completely agree with you. It's going to be scary, and you better hold on that Simone does anything like he did last year because if not, I think we're in for a long year with that boy in the 5th spot. So have a good one, guys. See you later tonight.